that it's rigorous, the rigour being the short action research cycles, but also that it's valid, that I can bring the group to a validation meeting, or I can go to the validation meetings and I validate my claims as Ronan would by saying, well, here's evidence of how I've engaged my clients and what I'm doing. That's the whole idea that each one of the students are developing their own pedagogy of the unique, because within Yvonne's context, it's very different than a nursing context. She's bringing in her own embodied values of what it means to her as a nurse to engage the particular context she's in. Yvonne, within her government department, is bringing in what she feels she wants to bring in to her particular context. So this idea of pedagogy of the unique, but also the web of betweenness. Now, I know these are terms, but I want to talk about the web of betweenness is what I came up with over my own research study of, it goes back to John O'Donoghue, who's a spiritual philosopher in Ireland, and he talked about this idea that in Celtic spirituality, people helped each other out. You know, if there was a bad season or a bad harvest, people would come as a community and help each other. And in this way, what I'm trying to show through the course is that this isn't a course where you as individuals come and you get your master's degree. It's not about just coming, there's a master's degree for everybody, but it's about how can we bring our own workplace context, our own embodied knowledge in as a community, how can we learn from each other, and how can we use that social interactive process, but how can technology also help us to see those embodied values, like the video can help us to see what it is we're doing in our practice. And those embodied values can become the standards of judgment, because Pamela talked about these 23 standards, these 23 tick boxes. But when you read through all those dissertations, you can actually see that each of those practitioner researchers have developed their own standards of judgment. They've said, here are my values. I believe in a student-centered approach. I believe in involving students, whatever, these are my values. Now, can I show you how I'm living those values in practice? Now I can show you my standards of judgment. So if somebody said to me, how do you know what you're doing? Each of those students could stand here and tell you how they know what they're doing, because they've done it, they've gone through, they've asked those questions, what's my concern, they've gathered the data, they've validated their claims to knowledge through the validation meetings, they've had their master's degrees validated in the academy as qualifications, so it's not just a self-study of the practice, because they've actually made their study public. So once you've made it public, it's research, and they've done it in a very systematic way, so that nobody can say this is all kind of a non-generalizable form of research, because it's never meant to be generalizable. But somebody can read those studies, as you can go onto the website, and you say, well, maybe I learned from Donal how I, as a history teacher, or whatever other type of teacher, how I can support and encourage pupils to think critically through an online learning environment. Donal is not claiming generalizability, but what he's saying is, read my story. You may find that it applies in your practice, but you may not. Okay, so I have 5 more minutes left. So what I want to do, sometimes what we did about a year ago, a group of us, myself, Jack Whitehead, Maureen Laidlaw, Brian Kowalner in Croatia, we set up an educational journal of living theories. And we welcome you all to put forward your papers for the journal. And again, the journal has a particular commitment and scope. It's committed to publishing the accounts of practitioner researchers from a wide range of global, social, cultural and professional contexts that explain the educational influence in their own learning, in the learning of others, and in the learning of social formations. But within their own organisation, how are they bringing in new learning? And again, the values we're thinking are ontological. We're looking at those embodied values that each one of those practitioners brought in from their workplace. Values such as love, which is often kept out of the academy, because love is not part, it's part of everything we do. The love of what we do is why we do it. freedom, justice, compassion, courage, care, and democratic evaluation. So looking at those kinds of values. And we've got an open review process, so if people put forward their work for publication, everything is done in a democratic way because it's all done through our open forum. So you can see somebody from Croatia has put forward his paper. It's been reviewed by 2 reviewers, but it's been doing it in an open way through Moodle. So you can actually, well, in that case I have to log in, so I won't at the moment, but China, we've got some, again, these are practitioner researchers that would never get into academic journals because there's a particular type of knowledge, a particular type of epistemology that is acceptable, whereas these, everybody's showing how they're developing their practice. And again, some of my own students have had their papers, they've put their papers forward, Donal O'Mahony, Martina Clerkin, who looked at the use of e-portfolios with her students in primary schools, and Teresa Hennessy again. They've had their papers put forward and published